Hey y'all, welcome back to Let's Talk About It. Courtney. I'm your host, Courtney Carroll, licensed therapist in Washington State and North Carolina. I am your connection coach and I'm so excited to be here. I have been really marinating on this week's topic. It's December. I've been really addressing single women lately and experiencing holiday season, and it's a unique experience after divorce or a serious breakup to go through the holidays. And I can say, especially as a single mom, a single person, I'm sure the dads can relate a lot as well. It's a unique experience, especially since you're used to not doing it alone. You're used to those family traditions that you probably right now miss and crave. But I thought a topic that I haven't really addressed, I brought it up in either the first episode or two, is dating after divorce. And I even want to extend to dating through the holidays, dating through just dating after a bad breakup. As a lot of you know, and if you're following my journey, thanks for being here again. I was married for 11 years, together over 13 with my ex-husband. And I met my ex when I was 21. And I'm 36, if you're doing math. And I had no idea what to do, how to do it. I have joked around and said a lot of these apps didn't exist when I was single and 21, because they didn't. My recollection is eHarmony, Match, and I think that's it. I think the rest came up in between in my even maybe while I was dating my ex-husband, but because POF, Plenty of Fish, and those, I remember hearing my friends talking about them, but I had never on my life had been on an app until I was separated with my ex-husband. I had never dated outside. I had been 21, and before my ex and I met my ex a couple months after a breakup. I dated my post-high school boyfriend for a couple years. I think a year and a half, 2 years. Gosh, it's been a long time, guys. And before then, gosh, I don't even know. Did I have a boyfriend? High school? I don't know, guys. Not a lot of experience. And I actually recently, I work with an amazing therapist and I just cherish her. And we had recently gone through the guys I've dated, have been with, and it was so funny to explain to her how limited experience I was. I think she got a real good kick out of it, a good laugh. She's like, so before your ex-husband, there was a few? I'm like, yeah, most of them were in high school. Isn't that great? But I did date before I got engaged to my most recent ex. And, but I think how would I explain dating? First of all, it's terrifying. So if this is you and you're catching this, maybe you caught the hashtag dating single, post-divorce, single mom, whatever. I'm going to hashtag with it. The content has not been created yet. If you know me at all, and welcome to my podcast if you haven't, nothing is pre-recorded. I literally sit about 5 to 10 minutes before recording and ask myself what's come up a lot this week. And a lot of my single women clients have come up this week, and conversations about dating have happened. So that's why we're talking about dating today. It is not because I wanted to open up and tell you about my experiences necessarily. I'm happy to be the person that leads by example and talks about it. Hence why we call it Let's Talk About It. But it wasn't on my radar until it's on my radar. There's no telemarketing thing behind me, or that's the wrong word. I hate that. Basically, I'm just talking, basically. So here I am just talking. And there are two clients I'm thinking of on top of my head right now that have asked me, isn't it weird? Is it weird to date? She's very newly single, and he is single too. I'm thinking of a couple clients, and is it weird? Yeah, it is weird. It is weird to date. Do you enjoy sex again? Mom, Dad, if you're watching, this is not the episode to watch. Go ahead, click off. And I mean it. You probably don't want to listen. Yeah, it's weird. when you're with someone for as long as I was with my ex-husband, I had no experience. I had very limited. I think I've been with 2 people before my ex-husband. And yeah, 2. Yeah. Not that's crazy. I know. You should see my clients' faces when I tell them. It's pretty funny. I can only imagine what you're thinking over there. But I went in with like very limited experience. I had a really strict upbringing. You were not supposed to have sex growing up, hence why I ended up working with couples in sex therapy later. And we can always talk about that in another episode. I can tell right now that's what I want to do, so I don't stay there too long to explain it. But basically, I didn't have a lot of experience before my ex-husband. And I mean, I was under 21 before. I met him October 2010. So I literally was 21 for 2 months. So my birthday's in August 29th, if you're really curious. So I had no experience. Because last time I dated people, like, we were in high school. We weren't going anywhere to meet new people or grabbing drinks with anyone necessarily, and not a lot of experience there. So me and my ex break up, and a lot of my friends are like, so are you ready to get back out there? I was married for 11 years. I was not ready to get back out there. Are you wanting, like, Courtney, are you open to meeting someone? I mean, I guess so, but I don't know how that's going to go. And then I'm going back to clients, like, saying, like, how does intimacy work? Do you like the apps? What did you do? Because they know I'm an open book, just like I'm talking to you. I did. I hopped on the apps, a couple months after we broke up. And I just remember it being a lot of information. I can tell you right now, if you are on the apps, Match.com, no. I never did eHarmony. I did Bumble, and I did Hinge. I like Hinge a lot. Hinge was like the one that stands out the most to me. I feel like the people that are on Hinge were like the ones that were like more serious. I never did Tinder or any of those. I can't think of, I think those were the main ones, Bumble and Hinge. And I liked Bumble because, like, no one got to talk to me unless I want to talk to them. Control freak over here, as you can tell. And I just remember I'm going to go into it being playful and open and not to take it too serious. So that's what I would suggest to do. Like, if you're interested and kind of want to see what dating pool is out there, that's what I did. And honestly, what I learned a lot about dating is to be open with it, like I just said. And it's to not, like, I wasn't looking for my next husband. I wanted to date people that wanted a future, that were, like, I wasn't just doing hookups to hook up. But I think it's important to know what you want. Nothing is wrong if you want to just hook up. Absolutely not. It wasn't even part in my head, a big part of my head to do that. Even when I was co-parenting really great with my ex, like, I was still majority person that had custody and dated, and that was really hard to do. I didn't have a lot of time, so I didn't want to waste it. So if you don't have kids, I mean, go have fun. Go experience things if that's what you want to do. I remember really wanting to get positive affirmation. You know, my confidence was low after my divorce, and I think dating has a way of boosting it. Also a way that could not, because it is also depressing. But what I think is, like, the weirdest part is, like, sex. Like, that wasn't weird to have sex with someone else. I had never done that in my marriage. I'd never done that I only had sex with my ex-husband. But gosh, it was weird. It was like, you don't know that body. When you're married for a long time, you know each other's bodies really well, especially if you have an active sex life. You know what each other's likes, what you don't like, what you're willing or not willing to try, and you don't really need conversations about it. And in dating, you kind of have to. You have to talk in dating. And I, as a sex therapist, relationship therapist, I came kind of out with it. when people are asking me what I do for work, I think my profiles would say therapist or some mental health field or something. And then when I would go out on the date, they would ask me most of the time, would get to the point where they were aware enough that therapists have different fields or specialties. They would ask me like, oh yeah, what do you do? Oh, I loved it. It was so fun because I'd almost wait to tell them face to face. Like, oh, I'm a couples and sex therapist. Whoa, what does that mean? Means I work with couples and to talk about sex and intimacy, build better sex lives, and do a lot of recovery work on why there is dysfunction in a relationship and sex is not at its peak or whatever that means for them. And it was always so funny to see because then it immediately opened up the conversation about sex. If there was a guy that wasn't comfortable talking about sex, because I'm not having this conversation in my bedroom, by the way, or in his bedroom or anywhere where we could just immediately start having sex. I wanted to have these conversations early. What's your expectations with sex? A big part is, do you want more children? What's birth control like? Those things, those are, to me, deal breakers at the very beginning. So if you're single and you're out there and you're dating, when is it safe or time to talk about sex in the future? Right away. Why waste your time? Why? At that point, I'm thinking back. I really wanted more kids. My daughter is a single child. She does want a sibling. She's made that clear lately. This like obsession with a baby brother, like it's come out of the woodwork, guys. Like I was telling my best friend about it yesterday, and we grabbed dinner after, and with Hazel, my daughter, and I was telling her, like, she's obsessed. She's been asking me about this brother. I don't know what to tell her. I don't have a boyfriend. I'm not really dating anyone. But she's like, really want a baby brother. And then she brings it up at dinner with my brother and my best friend. I was dying. I was like, I told you. But anyway, getting a brother from me, at least that's planned right now. And, not my business with her dad. So we'll see if they have kids. Who knows? But again, none of my business. But when I was dating after my ex-husband and I broke up, I did know I wanted more kids. And that's changed clearly, as you can tell right now with me now. A lot can change in a couple years, I always thought Hazel would have a sibling. We were like, that was a serious conversation we were having prior to our divorce with my ex. So it wasn't like something I was willing to give up. So if men didn't want kids or already had kids, I'd be like, it was so great to get to know you, but I'm not interested. And some guys would be pushy. They'd be like, what? Just because of this? Why are you judging me off this? I'm not judging. So if a guy comes at this, by the way, or a female, females are just as bad. Well, wait, can't you just give me a chance? No. Know your deal breakers. I knew at that point I wanted more kids. So if they had no interest in kids, they didn't get more of my time. That was a deal breaker. It is not now, but it was then. And every time I go into a season, if and when I choose to date, I'm going to have to ask myself, what are my deal breakers? So this is when therapist Courtney enters the room with you. What are your deal breakers? Mine were, I wanted more kids. Another one of mine is like, obviously I'm going to continue working. I was never going to be a stay-at-home mom, for example. Nothing against that. I love my stay-at-home mamas. You guys are the best. Hardest workers I know. But I knew that wasn't going to be the case for me. I worked really hard to get to the career I have. And I have no desire to stop anytime soon. And I'm even stronger in that now. It's probably why I don't want more kids now. Or not as open to it. It's not a hard no. We'll see. So that's it. Know that. And going back to sex, like, are they comfortable talking about sex? Guys, this is for girls too. The women that aren't comfortable talking about sex, what do you think will happen in the bedroom? What do you think will happen? Do you think they're all of a sudden going to talk about sex? Nope. If they can't do it out of the bedroom, they can't do it in the bedroom. That's my theory. And that's like my professional stamp with it too. It was the most difficult thing I had to overcome as a wife and as a partner, a lover, was to be able to work on sex, was to be able to do that hard work myself, especially the last year of my marriage. And it is hard work. It's doable, but I will never go back to where I don't have a voice or feel like I don't, because that was never a problem with my ex-husband. Like, he was very kind in that regard. Like, I think he wanted me to open up more. And I think that's why I worked really hard to do it. And I picked a specialty like sex therapy. I wanted to really understand it because I knew it was essential to couples work. And random fun fact, 70% of therapists don't talk about sex. Isn't that crazy? Couples therapists, that's including them. And I was like, I have to do it different. I have to specialize in that. I need to know those things so I can help couples. I can help myself. I can help my marriage. I can help my friends, all the things. And like now I'm talking to you guys about it. But bringing it up early, that doesn't mean I'm going to bed with them that night. That doesn't mean you're going to bed with them that night. It means like, hey, what's your relationship with sex? That's a good question on a first date. Second date. Maybe the first date is like seeing if you have chemistry to even want to have those conversations. So I get why it'd be a second date. It was just easier for me to get it out of the way. What does like intimacy look like for you? People are into a lot of different things. There's a ton of fetishes out there, and I'm not saying everyone will have them, but some do. And there are people that want to know what you're not into, or you're absolutely no-goes. And I think that's an appropriate thing to do before hitting the sheets, in my opinion. But I would have never known this. Like, when I was married, I was trying to learn in my marriage. Can you imagine? Like, bless it, right? Bless it, Courtney. But now that I'm out of it and I date, and especially like after my divorce, when I was learning how to do all of this, it was not fun for me to like learn how to do this. I think that's why I'm talking about it now. I remember thinking, I really hope I figure this out, because how am I supposed to help other people with this? And I just, again, I was open to experiences. And then when an experience or a person I stopped dating or I decided not to talk to anymore, I had to be clear about that. And again, like, just like I said earlier, if he's not interested, like if it was kids, I'm going to use that example, because that's usually like you're in your 30s and you either haven't had kids or maybe you only had one. That's it. You need to know if you want kids or don't want kids for yourself. That doesn't mean you can't change your mind. But having that question off the bat and being like, hey, are you open to this? Are you not open to this? Why would you go and do any more of that work with that someone if that's a requirement for you? So get those out of the way. Know your stuff in that. But also, I used to think that every ending had to be bad. A breakup had to be bad. Like, it was sad or bad, or like I hate that experience, or like I can't believe I wasted my time. Just because something ends doesn't mean it has to be bad. And I think that's probably my biggest like thing I want to pass to you. You will have other breakups. I've had breakups since my marriage. I've had several, actually, like not like huge relationships, but if I dated someone and I don't think either they aligned to my life, whether that's they weren't motivated and had like a professional career going where they pushed themselves. I didn't know that was important until I was in the dating field. That's really important. I continuously pushed myself in my career, hence the podcast, hence the social media. Like, I want to be full force into my career. And I kind of want someone either completely like set in their career and like they built their career, or they work at it. I didn't realize how much drive and motivation would be so important to me. And it's really important. I think it's because it's something I didn't realize that was essential to my relationship, because my ex had it in spades. I didn't think it was something I had to look for. This is my favorite. I was naive in dating a lot of the time. And it's such a interesting word, naive, because I didn't love that word. I don't like not being good at things. If you are a friend of mine, or we've had relationship or whatever it is, anyone that knows me, I am a Virgo. I'm a perfectionist. I don't like looking stupid. I know you're thinking of this girl that's on a podcast that does not have a teleprompter. That's the word I was missing earlier. Yeah, I used to like really struggle with that. And when I just need all that control for things to be perfect, things aren't going to go my way. And I think that's a cue for dating for you too, is like things aren't always going to go the way you think they'll go. I feel like I lost like my wording there, but to go back to, is knowing like it's okay if it doesn't work out. Being naive is okay. I remember I was dating this guy I really liked. I dated him, I think, about 2 months. No, he had a kid. I clearly have a kid, and no kids were met. Nothing. We were never around each other in that way. But I think we were getting really close to that, and we were dating, and we were exclusive, but we weren't boyfriend and girlfriend, and that was new to me. If that's new to you, and that's the first thing you're hearing, is like, what do you mean you can be exclusive and not dating anyone else, but you're not the title? I remember being very confused about that, because before my ex-husband, I was a girlfriend, or I wasn't a girlfriend. I was then a fiance, and then I was a wife. And I'm not a wife anymore, but I'm either a wife or I'm not a wife, right? I remember asking the guy I was dating, I'm like, hey, I really have some questions here. And I remember his face, he's like, what do you mean? I was like, so can you clarify? I hear you want to be exclusive with me. I hear you don't want anything else happening with another partner or anything. And you want to be exclusively dating each other, but that doesn't mean boyfriend and girlfriend. So what are the expectations here? Like, what does that look like? So I'm not your girlfriend, but I'm exclusive. Like, and he just looked at me like I was crazy. Like, are you trying to push more? Like, Courtney, let's take it slow. I'm like, I'm not pushing anything. I genuinely don't know what that means. And I looked at him like, oh shit. I was like, I don't know if I can say his name. I'll ask him eventually. We're still friends. If this is your first time listening, I will never say my ex-husband's name for his privacy. I do my best not to use my ex-fiance's name for privacy. I'm learning how to do this, to be perfectly honest, to one, be as respectful as I can, but also tell my stories. So anyway, the guy I'm dating at the time, and I remember like looking at him, I mean, like, so shit, I have to tell him I'm not good at this, or I'm like, I'm not great at this. I remember looking at him like, so I'm pretty naive at this. And he just looked at me, what? I don't, I wasn't even legally divorced, like, because in North Carolina, it takes you a year to get divorced. And I was like, gosh, I think it was like 8 months after my separation, something like that, 8 or 9 months after my separation, you're the first guy I'm talking about being exclusive with. And I'm not saying we should rush it. I'm not needing to be anyone's girlfriend, but at the same time, I just don't know what that means. And you should have saw his face. It was so sweet. He's like, oh, you're not, he's like, it's like my crazy went away for him. I just didn't know what exclusivity meant, girlfriend, boyfriend thing meant, and I knew we were new at it, and I wanted to just understand the rules. Sounds so weird when I say it. And I just remember him having to explain, like, it just kind of means, like, we're exclusively getting to know each other. We're dating each other with intention. We like each other at this point. And I just remember being so much calmer. I'm like, okay, I can do that. No deal. And he's like, so we're good? I'm like, yeah, we're good. Y'all, it doesn't have to be that hard. Ask the questions. If you're confused, ask. You don't want to look vulnerable or weak in questions if you're dating someone, especially if you're having sex with someone. Try to ask the questions like, hey, what does this mean? A lot of people won't have sex without exclusivity, and because they don't want to pass anything or whatever the reason, or especially unprotected sex, which you have to have those conversations. And it makes a lot of sense why people don't want the person they're with unless they are in an open relationship and are comfortable with that, which you already know those rules at that point, right? If you're in those communities or if those are your relationships, and there's so much validity to those relationships, and I have a lot of love for them. I know I will never be part of that. I mean, who knows? But at least right now. Yeah, no, probably not. It's okay to not want to share or to have sex with someone if they're having sex with other people. If that's a no-go, just say that. Like, hey, totally okay that you're having sex with other people, but you won't be having sex with me at that point. Or we'll have to use protection or whatever that is for you. And these, again, are part of dating after divorce. Like, conversations you didn't think you need to have. I never had to have conversations with my husband about protection sex. We didn't have any. We had birth control, or we were in don't joke. We were in a monogamous relationship in my perspective, and what we had agreed to, okay? And I will leave it at that. And so I didn't think about having to do having those other conversations clearly. And so if you are dating and you're like, well, and especially if you're married for a long time ago, the two clients I'm thinking of and that really are my heart this week and why I'm talking about this, were married for like 15 years, the other one 20, and there's another relationship that's popping in my head that they were married for 7 years. 6, 7. It's a funny thing with my nieces right now. So a long time, and they were all monogamous relationships. So if you're out there and you're not like into monogamy, and I have several friends that aren't, like, you still need to have conversations like this if you're in it or not in it, and what do you want and what you don't want. I never thought I had to have these conversations. That's why I'm teaching you, and I'm explaining to you, like, have those conversations beginning. I didn't have them at beginning with every single person. I learned after dating a few people to basically pluck the weeds out. Oh, it sounds bad, but I'm going to use it anyway. Pluck the weeds out is like having earlier conversations about sex, about kids, about relationship, and what's a relationship like with their ex. If they do have kids, how do they co-parent? That says a lot about someone, in my opinion. What does custody look like? When are we gonna be able to date each other if we both have kids? The guy I was referring to earlier, he was dad. So we only saw each other when we both didn't have our kids. Or we grabbed lunch, like, again, when we didn't have our kids. It was never, like, he was never around when my daughter was around, and I never met his son. And that worked for us. Like, we weren't gonna introduce anyone to our kids until we were exclusive. So when I do bring up this guy and some of my clients' work, I wonder if he knows I talk about him. That's so funny. They're like, why did it end? Or like, what happens when there's a breakup? Things end, and it's not bad. With him specifically, I'm thinking of, it ended. We end up being in different places in life. I did a lot of healing work. I did a lot of I knew what I wanted, and I was ready for more of a serious relationship, and he was still in the healing part, so we parted ways. What I love about a lot of the guys I dated and that ended, clearly I'm single, they all ended, but I love that I got to experience amicable breakups. My ex-husband and I had a pretty tumultuous breakup, you know? I didn't know that people would just break up and like be good. We're still friends. Like, I wish him the best, and I'm sure he wishes me the best. And we just had a real talk, like, hey, this is kind of what I need. Revisit, do that check-in, and this is what he needed. He wasn't ready to give, like, he didn't want to move to that next step. He wasn't ready. I was ready, so we just said, you know, we really enjoyed our time together. I wish you luck. And we weren't best friends or anything, but we're super friendly and kind to each other. And that happened with several guys. A guy I only dated for a couple weeks. We have very, very good mutual friends. We'd always be at the house of the mutual friend's house. And when we decided, well, he ended things with me. He was so worried that it would be weird between us. We'd only dated a couple weeks. I thought it was so crazy that he's like, you know, I just don't want it weird if we see each other. And I was like, why would it be weird? Like, we weren't boyfriend and girlfriend. We just dated for a couple weeks. He didn't want to commit. I don't know. I almost said his name too. He's in the midst of a work situation, and he didn't have a lot to give to a relationship, and so at that point we decided to just be friends. And I was like, cool, no problem. And he's like, seriously, no problem? I was like, yeah. Thank you for telling me. Thanks for like not leading me on or telling me let's keep dating, and you weren't ready. I think there's so many exes and past experiences, like that guy I'm thinking of right now. um, he had some really nasty breakups. And it wasn't because he cheated or did anything crazy. It was like these girls went wild. And I just remember thinking, I'm like, I'm not, one, not all girls are like that. And if they do, you probably shouldn't date them. And just because we weren't suited, like, we're still going to go to the barbecues here. We're still going to see each other, like no harm, no foul kind of situation. And I was sad. I liked him and it was fun getting to know him. But I was good. I wasn't mad at him. And I remember him telling our mutual friend, he's like, Court is so cool. I've never like had that happen where I decided like I wasn't in a place to date and I let that person know and they didn't freak out. If you are honest and open in dating, especially after divorce and breakups and long-term partnerships, just talk. Just talk about it. Don't lead people on. I think that's when people get messy and dirty and why girls and men get mad and get frustrated in dating. I like that's like the one thing. Of course, lying and all of that is like a hard no for me. But what would drive me crazy is if I'm being told I'm crazy and I'm not, or you're telling me you want something and you don't. Like that would make me really upset. And I think that would make anyone upset. So you're dating, you're after divorce and you don't know what to do. So you've tuned into my podcast, and like what I will leave with you is before you start dating, ask yourself what you really want. Are you wanting hookups? Are you just wanting, maybe you just want sex? Are you ready to find your partner? And in any regard, are you looking for your partner long term? Are you open to long term or short term? These questions are going to pop up on these dating apps anyway, but I think it's really important you ask yourself. And am I dating because I don't want to be alone? That is something to think about. It's completely okay to date to distract yourself, but be honest about it. If you're dating and you really want to find your person, but you didn't do the work after your divorce, you're jumping into another relationship and maybe you didn't go to therapy. And I'm not saying every breakup requires therapy, but I do think divorce do. And again, I'm a therapist, so blame it on that. And you don't do therapy after a divorce or a long-term partnership, and then you're jumping into another relationship and you didn't resolve that, I do think you should look at that. And so if you've done the healing work and you're like ready to get yourself out there, maybe you just want to go have fun. Maybe you just want to go have sex and have fun. How do I want to dress that with that person? Women struggle with this the most because they don't want to be labeled as hoes or whores, or men can do this, and like women are so worried about what it makes them look like. Nothing is wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with wanting to have sex and intimacy and connection. You had that at your disposal for years in marriage, and of course you miss that and want that and crave that. Be honest about it. If you don't want more than that, make sure you're explaining that to someone on date one. Like, I'm only looking at this, or I only want this, or at the end of the day, I really do want a long-term relationship, and that's what I want. Be very clear on why you're doing it and what you're doing it, and being honest with yourself, and then being honest with that said person. If it's just dating, because I know people that have, I'm thinking of a client in my head now, like was having sex with someone and was like told this person that like that's what she wanted, and then she started liking him, and then was really upset. I think it was like a month or two later where he's like, hey, I don't really want more. I thought we were clear about this. If at any point in those couple months that you've changed your mind, just bring it up to that partner. Hey, I realize I'm starting to like you. Would you be interested in dating? A lot of women are going to be like, Courtney, I don't want to do that. Well, if you changed, or gosh, sex can create people liking people, hormones, dopamine dump. That sounds great. And you're all of a sudden, you're looking at that guy. I want to call him Andrew. I don't think I ever hooked up with an Andrew. So I'm going to use the name Andrew. If Andrew all of a sudden is like looking like, oh, I want to go on a date with him, or maybe I can see a future with him, or wouldn't that be funny if we could go do that? If those thoughts are coming in and it was only supposed to be a relationship where you had sex or that was the intention, maybe you just want to hook up. If you're a single mom, single dad, and you're the weekend that you don't have off and you just want to hook up and have fun, nothing's wrong with that. But be honest about it with yourself and with said partner. And if you start liking someone, talk to him about it. Hey, pull a me card, pull a naive card. I'm really new at dating. As you know, I've been married for a long time, or I was in that relationship for a long time. I went into this and said, I just want sex or I just want hookups. I'm starting to realize I like you. How are you feeling? Would you be open to dating or more? And you have to honor their answer. It is not personal. I know it's so hard to believe if they say no. Like, I was really enjoying just having sex and that was fun, but at the end of the day, I'm not interested in more. Chances are it has nothing to do with you. It's just they were honest about what they wanted to. And at this point, if it hurts or you're like, okay, well, I did want more, it's up to you now if you want to continue that intimate relationship. My gut feeling is you probably don't. And it would be hard to like end it. And again, ask yourself, go to therapy. You know, book with me online if you don't have a therapist. CourtneyCarroll.com. I'm a coach all over the country, or a therapist in North Carolina or Washington State. And if I'm not the person for you, I will find you and help you find someone that's great for you. Work through this stuff. Find out what you really want. And again, it is December. I know it's a lonely time of year. And just ask yourself, what do I want? And if I'm wanting to distract myself and date, hook up, it's fine, but be honest about it. If you're like, hey, I really want to like find my person, but I'm still kind of a mess from all of this, maybe it's time to look at coaching or therapy. I know I needed it. I was in weekly therapy after my divorce for a whole year. I think I rarely missed it, like very rarely, because I didn't know how to date, guys. That's why I'm here telling you about. I had no idea. I had no idea how in relationships that weren't divorced or to tell someone that I'm naive and I just truly don't understand dynamics. Like, this is new to me. I've always been like, when someone realizes you met your ex-husband at 21 and you only had like high school boyfriends, they are not going to get mad at you or judge you for not knowing, but you do have to explain that you don't know and why you don't know, and to ask for them to be understanding and that you're not needy. You actually just have curiosity and questions, and you need clarity. Nothing's wrong with clarity. The clearer the communication, the more effective of the outcome. And as you navigate breakups after divorce, just note, my best advice would be, yes, it ended, but did you learn anything? Gosh, I learned so much in that year of dating before meeting my ex-fiance. I remember like looking at, it's like a box of crayons. There's not that many guys, by the way. I want to be very clear. But I remember thinking, what did I like from each guy? And I can go over a couple with you. I'm trying to be cognizant of time because I usually don't go over 30 to 40 minutes. So we're getting close. But I feel like it's important. I went back in that year of dating and like, what did I like about each guy? Why did it end? It didn't, because I know regardless of the common denominator of ending is alignment, and we weren't either compatible any longer or we both wanted different things, and completely okay. There were relationships I ended, there's relationships that ended with me. Relationship might be a strong word for it, why dating ended and why dating started, or whatever the words are. And not what I love looking back now. And it's like kind of, it's like so funny how I can see things now. I can like picture some of these men's faces. And I remember one of the first guys I dated, hooked up with. Gosh, I just loved how artistic he was. He was, he was very calm. And he did Reiki and he did energy work. And he was just like so thoughtful and deep. And I was like, okay, I'm going to carry that with me. I want someone that's maybe more spiritual or has that. And the next guy was so funny and always wanted to do like outgoing things. Like we went bowling and like cracking jokes. It was so fun. And I'm like, oh, I want someone that's funny, or like I can have that with. I learned things I don't like. I won't go into too many of that, but if your spouse or your, not your spouse, if your partner or you're dating and they hate their ex, find out why. Like, I learned they're either not over it or they're still healing. That's my 2 cents. And again, with time, and we'll probably touch that again. I learned if they don't have a good co-parenting relationship, what does that mean? Because that's not always one-sided. And that has nothing to do with mine. That was like me learning that through them. If they talked really bad about their children's mom, like it was yellow and now it'd be a red flag to me. I'd be like, why? What? Like, you were married? Do they have kids? Lean into that. And I remember the guy I'm thinking, I'm like, yeah, no, hard pass. That should have been a sign not to get to know him more. But now I do. Now I know. Not being a present parent if they have kids, like lean into that. Because if they're not going to be a present parent to the kids that they chose to bring in the world, how are they going to be a present partner? And especially if you're looking for something long term. If you're looking for something short term, very different situation, okay? The guy referred to earlier, gosh, he was really into, like, he played sports and he's on teams, and I thought that was so cool. And the coolest dad. Gosh, building things in the backyard for his son and fishing, and gosh, he was like so fun and just really knew what he wanted out of life. And I thought that was really hot, like knowing what they want. And again, like, I'm smiling, as you can see, like, and those ended. I did cry in some of those relationships and it ended. I wasn't happy with the guy I dated for a couple weeks and it didn't, like, I did cry. Have you met me? I cry. I am such a empathetic person and I feel a lot of things. So I've cried in session, I've cried on this podcast, I've cried, like, I feel things on a deep level. And sometimes it's sad to watch like hope go away, or like something that you did like and it's no longer yours. But nowhere in my face, as you can tell, do I regret it. And I know you're talking to the therapist, coach that's saying, hey, it is freaking weird to date. It is weird to like learn and talk to people about sex and intimacy and what you like, what you don't like, when you never had to before. At least not since the beginning of you dating your ex-husband or wife. Like, it is weird. And honor it. Honor being uncomfortable. It is okay to be uncomfortable as long as you look at it. You are not going to be perfect at dating. I know I wasn't. I didn't know how to do any of it. I like literally never really dated. It's so weird to say out loud, but I didn't. Like, it's just, and the world of dating was so different. Like I said, I never had to go on apps. And to be honest, I don't know if I ever will go back on an app again. I recently was telling a girlfriend, she's like, you should get out and date again. And I'm like, that sounds like fun. Also, that sounds terrible. Like, it does. But like, dates sound fun. That sounds like fun. But, I have to be ready to do it. And the apps, I don't think that aligns with me right now. It doesn't mean I'll never do it. Probably not. But like, I mean, this is what I'm talking about. Have conversations with yourself. You say dating apps, what does that make you feel? Me, it makes me want to go. So no, I probably won't. Maybe the universe is going to send someone to me in a really organic way. I also don't want to date just to date. And I also don't want to just jump into something either. So as I'm navigating this with you, I'm honoring my space with you. I'm sharing my vulnerabilities with you. Just like you can see how I'm talking through it. It is confusing. You are not alone. It is weird. And I really want to call on, if you're still healing, try to do that work first. It doesn't mean don't go have sex. It doesn't mean don't date at all. But if you're still healing from your relationship, if it's fresh, if it's within the last year and you haven't done any work, then I really hope you do. It was literally like life-changing for me, and that helped me navigate when I did want to break up with someone and why I was upset if something ended. And it's helped me look at, not all of that was for nothing. I'm here on a podcast talking about dating after divorce. Who does that? Apparently me, Courtney Carroll. And again, I'm not the expert dater, but I am an expert at relationships and how I've worked with in therapy for years. And the thing is, there's no solid rule book other than being authentic and honest with yourself. It is weird getting out there, and I can just see you're like, oh, am I ready? Am I ready? Am I sure? Have fun with it, but know what you want. Know what you want. And if you change your mind, or if you start liking someone, and or maybe you don't like someone, and it's you never done the breakup, like, and now you're gonna break up with someone that likes you. These are all new roles to play, new, like, things you've never done. Be naive. Honor it. It's okay that you're not great at everything. If I relied solely on being great at everything, I would not be anywhere in my life right now. Like, I wouldn't be. I wouldn't have a podcast. I wouldn't be in private practice. I like it, but I lean on my support. I listen to podcasts. I go to therapy. I have a great mentor, several great mentors, and I have friends that I talk to about sex and dating, and colleagues that I do the same thing with, and we're all in this world and we're learning from each other. So be very gracious to yourself. You are new at this. It's weird. It's also can be fun. And what I love is that two things can be true. It can be new and a little scary and a lot of fun. It can have you can have a bad experience, but it's not all bad. It can be uncomfortable and bad, and they don't have to correlate or align completely. You can have a bad experience and take away some really good stuff, like I have. So I hope this podcast helps. And if you ever have questions, concerns, comments, please comment, like, follow. I am running all these sites. I have someone that works with me on it. Like, we will respond to you. And if you're out there and if you're feeling alone, you're not. I'm here. I'm figuring it out too. And I am so proud of you for figuring it out too. So thanks for talking about it with me. Have a great rest of your week. And until next time.